Good, greetings, Africa. My name is Mary Magdalene Ngum Chumbo. I am a Cameroonian who has lived most of my life in Kenya, and I have a very, very great passion for communication and development, especially in Africa. Over the years, I have gone back to my country for holidays and to visit, and I have not been pleased, I would say, because I feel like we are lagging behind as a nation and as a continent in general because there are very few countries which can actually say that they're growing and developing, and even when they are doing so, but still have some vices here and there, like corruption and scandals here and there. So I have a great passion for communication and to see the world accept Africa as a continent, not as the black continent, the dark continent, or whatever other name you'd want to give Africa, but as a continent which is also growing and which has what the world requires, because many people come out of Africa into Africa to get raw materials to take back home, to get things which are needed for their industries to grow in their continents. But as Africans, we stay back and remain and suffer. And when we have the opportunity, we misuse it. Say, for example, you'd always hear the stories of corruption, scandals here and there. That's what makes big news in Africa. But I would like to be able to participate in the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development this year in Kenya, Nairobi, at the KICC, so that I can be able to participate and to involve myself with other youth and participate in conversations and discussions to hear what other youth are thinking. Because I go back home, the first thing when I land, maybe at Douala, at the Douala International Airport, or wherever I land in Yaoundé, the first thing I realize is the contrast. Kenya is more developed, Cameroon is not, and even so, the people in Cameroon are more friendly. So, what is stopping Cameroon from growing, from developing? They are very, they are less, like when you look at statistics, Kenya is more corrupt than Cameroon. But what is stopping Cameroon from growing? What is stopping the economy from booming? What is it? It's because many people leave Cameroon, go out the way I have grown away from home, and don't want to go back home to invest in their country and to stay there and see it grow and develop. So we leave it to the few who are willing to hold on to it, but who are unable to get the exposure, the kind of exposure that we've had. Very few people who have that exposure go back home and even bring any meaningful profit to the country. And that is my main concern. I want to see the country grow, I want to see the continent grow, and I want to hear what other young people have to say about it, those especially who have not grown up in their home country. What do they hope to do to see their country develop? It's a passion that in me, I feel every time I talk about it. I've even had debates with people who've grown up in Cameroon and they're like, some things cannot change. And you're thinking, what do you mean some things cannot change? I mean, if we all agree and say that we are going to go and start something, we don't all need to be in the same industry. I am in journalism, I am in communication. I can try to see how I can help journalists or the industry, the media industry in the country develop, because you look at the TV, you watch news, you look at newspapers, like there's no content, they're not telling the African story, and that is my main concern. So I would like to participate in the UNCTAD meeting this year so that I can be able to give my views and maybe what I think can help in changing the continent. And I think it begins with you and I. And once we start the change, everyone else will join. Let us not look at, oh, this guy went and didn't come back home, or this other person went and didn't come back home. But let's look at how, as an individual, I have gone, but I am coming back home to bring change. Thank you.